Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. I suspect this will be quite a short video. It is my February planner flip through, and it's not short because February is the shortest month, but because honestly, February has not been a good month, journal and planner wise. It has been a good month for a lot of other things in my life. I've really enjoyed working on some projects. The weather is finally starting to feel a little bit like spring, so it's time to start doing some stuff in the garden. Lots of good stuff going on. However, in terms of my journals and planners, not so much. But let's just take a moment to appreciate life's ebbs and flows. Ebb and flow? Is that what it's called? Suddenly that sounds so weird. Anyway. Wow. So yeah, I think that, I'm not really worried that my system isn't working. I think that's just something that I want to say first because the system, especially like just these two books, my Hobonichi Weeks, which is my planner, and my Take a Note, which is more of a journal, it works fine. However, I'm just not really feeling the need to plan a lot. Sometimes I need to really work out my plans, make very detailed to-do lists, just to really clear my head, to brain dump and to structure and to make sense of it all. Sometimes I need to write a lot in my journal to process my thoughts, to work through a decision, to, just to mostly to get a hold of my mental health. And I noticed that sometimes I just don't need it as much. And that is fine if I don't really want to journal. I don't really feel like writing. I mean, I could force myself to fill pages and to make things, to make sure that I have a full book at the end of the year. But I really ask myself the question, what is more important to me? Doing journaling when I feel like journaling, when I need to journal, or just making sure the book is full and complete and pretty to look at. So I've just accepted it. I don't really feel, it's not like last year where I felt at some point that my system wasn't working and I was feeling like jumping planners, like hopping to another system. I don't really feel that need at all right now. I'm not really eyeing another planner. I'm not eyeing another system. I'm not bored of this. I just don't really feel the need to go into my books as much. So let's take a look at what I did do in my books in the month of February. There's some fluff on here. So let's see. My running tracker. Ooh, I probably should have shown this. I went on 2 runs this month. Yeah, not great. For the first half of the month, the weather was pretty bad. It was just really cold, lots of rain. I also didn't have that much energy, so I just really didn't feel like going for runs that much. At some point during the month, I don't really remember when, I also wasn't feeling too great. Just, so, I mean, that influences it as well. Doesn't really matter. There's plenty of months left this year to go for lots of runs, and that's fine. Then we have the monthly page. It's looking rather empty, and that's because I didn't write in most of my work days this time. I just wanted to experiment by just not doing that, seeing how I feel about it. Honestly, it doesn't really matter that much to me whether I fill them in or not. Oh, I guess in January I also didn't do it for every week. It's just that I know what my work days are. I just don't always know exactly when I go into the office and when I don't. And I don't really feel like correcting the information once it's in here but I also don't want there to be information that's wrong. So I only write it down when I'm fairly certain whether I'll go into the office or work from home. And then I often just forget to write it down, not to work, but to write it down. So long story short, I don't really write my work days in here that much. Mostly just other reminders. And I find it mostly useful to write down things like bin collection day, like what do I have to, what type of bin is being collected, but also just appointments with family or birthdays. But then I also note that if it's something that I would never forget, I often don't write it down. Like my partner's birthday is on the 3rd of March, and I don't really write that down because I don't really need to remind myself. I don't know. It helps me to have things here that I know that I need a reminder for, so that my eye is easily drawn to those specific things. Then we have the weekly pages. Oh yeah, by the way, I still need to set up for March. I was planning on doing that later today, because it is now the 27th, so there's like one more day. Is it the 27th or the 26th? No, it's the 26th. Okay, so I have 2 more days. Then I need to have everything set up for March. Let's see. This was the last week of January with the first 2 days of February. And then the week after, I was craving cherry blossoms and spring scenery. Even though it was pretty cold this week, I spent some time in the garden doing some work on it's still too early to really do a lot of things with the plants or to plant new stuff. The soil is way too cold, and there's the chance that it will be freezing at night is still too high. However, we still need to do a lot of construction stuff in the garden because part of our garden is still just like mud and weeds. We moved here almost 3 years ago, and there wasn't really a garden. It's a new house on an empty plot that's been barren for years and years. First year we didn't do anything in the garden. We just let it be. There was so much that we still needed to do inside of the house that we just didn't do anything in the garden. Then the second year we got a lot of stuff done, but we're now on our 3rd year and there's still a lot that needs to be done. Obviously, we have our jobs, we have family, friends, just other stuff that we need to do. And then even when we have the time, the weather needs to be somewhat okay. So we're just doing our best, but we hope that this year, by the end of the season, of the gardening season, the garden will be somewhat finished, at least like the way we designed it. Obviously, it's never finished, it's never done. There's always stuff to work on and to maintain, but that's kind of the plan. So yeah, what was I? So we still need to make some flower beds. We want to make a raised flower bed. And we needed to remove the weeds and just sort of level the soil there and mix the soil. We have very dense clay, so we kind of want to make that a bit more loose, because the soil retains lots and lots of water and a lot of plants don't really like that, and there's a chance of the roots rotting. So yeah, we've learned that the hard way, that not all plants enjoy that. We have planted some marsh plants that kind of enjoy being abused by the rain, and they are thriving. So that's good. But yeah, definitely no cherry blossoms in the first week of February, but I can have them in my journal. It's okay. Then this week, the week of the 10th of February, I didn't journal or plan at all for the entire week. I just had this sticky note. I went back to basics with a sticky note with a to-do list, just stuck to my desk, and that was it. It was kind of an experiment to see whether I would be okay with that, whether I would feel like very stressed or scatterbrained, or whether it would be just fine. And it was kind of fine. I mean, I did realize that it kind of works for short-term planning, but I mean, I need a place to write down our plans for like next week or next month, or if someone says, like, I got an invitation for a wedding that's in November. I mean, I can't stick that on a sticky note and hope that I'll still see that sticky note by the end of the year, right? So I need somewhere to write those things down. I don't use Google Calendar or any digital calendar, so for that, this book is super important. But I don't necessarily have to write down that I have to do groceries on Wednesday, because I'll probably remember, or at least like the empty fridge will remind me. So for short term, it kind of works, but I still went back to doing at least some planning the week after. So yeah, that was last week. The weather was really good last week, not for the entirety of the week, but it really starts to feel like spring a bit more. And we spent the entire weekend working in the garden, and it was great. Lots of sore muscles on Monday after the weekend. I'm really noticing that last year we did a lot of stuff in the garden, and by the end of the season, I was pretty, accustomed to, or my muscles were kind of used to the specific motions and just, no, I don't really do a lot of sports. I run sometimes. You've seen that I've run 2 times this month, but my legs are pretty used to exercise. My arms, however, are not. So when I need to use a shovel for the entire weekend, by the end of the weekend, my arms basically fall off. So yeah, but by the end of the gardening season, I'll be fine. They'll be used to it. So yeah, this is this week. Just some greenery, some green stickers, and some to-do lists, some planning. This will be a pretty busy weekend because next week on Monday is my partner's birthday. So this weekend, our friends will visit, family will visit. So it'll be a pretty busy weekend. But that's all right. And then, yeah, I still need to set up next week, but there's still plenty of time. I also didn't really use my to-do lists in the back much. I think I used 3 pages for this month so far. So that's really not a lot. This was the February header page. And then there's 1 page, well, basically 1.5. And then this page. So yeah, really not a lot. I mean, this is a to-do list from 1.5 weeks. No, that's 2 weeks ago. Is it 2 weeks? No, that's last week. Wow, I really can't count. This was last week. So for an entire week, I didn't make a to-do list in here. I don't know. Sometimes I just gravitate towards a very quick and messy to-do list on a Post-it just on my desk, or a piece of scrap paper. Sometimes an envelope that's just waiting to be thrown away, or just anything. And that's fine sometimes. And sometimes I really want to sit down, often with a cup of coffee in the morning, and just really think about my to-do list. I do realize that when I make my to-do list in here, in this planner, they're often a little bit more thought through, and they're a little bit more realistic. So when I write it down here, the chances of it actually getting done are usually a bit higher. Whereas when I just write things down on a piece of scrap paper, it's sort of a combination of a to-do list and things that I might want to do, and just some reminders, and maybe a grocery list, shopping list just thrown in there. It's definitely more messy, and I don't know. it has its uses, but I do really want to use this more. And then we have the journal, and I'm just realizing more and more that journaling for me is mostly something I do when I have a lot of things on my mind, lots of things to think about, or maybe I'm just not, my mental health isn't great, or I have some like decisions to make. Like, for example, when I was looking for a new job, I noticed that I was journaling a lot when I was thinking about my planner system and my journaling system, or just changes I want to make in my day-to-day life. Those are the things that I really write about. I sometimes also write about just things that happened, just a bit of like memory keeping, but I'm not very consistent with that, and I don't really mind. I have been keeping up with the trackers. I do find that a very easy thing to do. It doesn't take a lot of time, and I do really value having my trackers updated, even if I can't really check off that many things if I haven't done that many things. I still find it important that the information is up to date. So let's see, my challenges this month were a no spend because I didn't do that well last month. I have done considerably better this month. I have made one purchase that was like not planned or necessary. That was just like something for fun. So that's okay, and it wasn't too expensive, so that's okay. Exercise has been all right. I only went on a run twice. Although I'm not wondering if maybe I went 3 times and I just didn't update my running log for one of them. Doesn't matter. But I did do, like, I went on walks. I biked mostly as a form of transport. I don't really go for I don't really bike for just exercise or for fun. I mostly use it for transport as a true Dutch person. No, that's, yeah. So that was all right. I mean, there's definitely some empty spots, but I don't really mind. I don't have to exercise every day, but most days. This was my tracker for February. You can't really compare these because a lot of the items I was tracking for this month were different. But I noticed that for a lot of things, I wasn't doing that great. But for some things, it was also about not really remembering to do the thing. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it or that it was like too hard or I was not motivated, but it was also a lot of times just that I forgot. For example, I wanted to stretch every day. Just, do some stretching exercises. I sit behind a computer for most of the day, both on my days off and at work. So it's really important to me to, get up, stretch my muscles. But a lot of times I just forgot. And then I look at this in the morning and I update my planner and I'm like, oh yeah, yesterday I didn't do it again. I really have to do it today. And then again, I forget. So maybe I should just put even like simple things like stretching just on my to-do list, because otherwise I just won't remember. Another thing that I've written down was spending time in the garden, which I've done for 8 days. So that's okay, considering the amount of rain we had. And doing something mindfully. And that was quite a fun thing to track. And it could be something very simple, like cooking dinner. If I did that, just mindfully being aware of the motions of what I was doing, not really multitasking and like listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video and just quickly making dinner, but just really, mindfully cutting vegetables, stirring in the pot, just things like that. That can be something mindful, but also listening to music, pulling weeds in the garden, playing with my cats, just, things like that. That's been quite a fun thing to track. And I have noticed that with just a little bit of attention, I can easily do that most days. Then we have the monthly log. And this is where I track my sleep, the precipitation, the min-max temperatures, my mood, and just a quick comment about my mood or about what happened that day. And all of the past months, I tracked it like this by just coloring in the entire box. But I felt like that was quite busy, and I wanted to experiment if I liked it better having a little bit of decoration somewhere around the calendar and then just coloring in a little dot. And I think that works. I really like the fact that I don't have to wait for the marker to dry before I write on it, which is what I did here. And I don't like how I did this with mild liners, and the mild liners like leave a darker spot where you lift the tip because a bit of the ink pools there. And I don't know, it doesn't look that clean, I suppose. I don't really love that. And I think this works quite well. I made these circles using the little green Hobonichi stencil that I don't have here with me, but that's what I used for these circles, and I just colored it in. That has been okay. I have not decided yet for next month whether I'll go back to my old system or keep doing this. In terms of the contents, that whatever is in there, it's exactly the same. So for that, it doesn't matter. I do really love this washi tape, by the way. This is from the washi tape shop. I've had it for 2 years, I think. Maybe even longer. But I love this. My sleep has been really, well, I was going to say really good this month. That's not always true. Sometimes it's like just 6.5 hours, while I aim for 7 or 7.5. But there hasn't been a single sleepless night this month so far, which is an immense improvement compared to January, where I had a lot of nights where I just could not fall asleep for some weird reason. So yeah, I had a lot more energy, so that's really, really great. And then we have the daily pages, and this is a lot of empty space. So if you hate empty space, just click away now, or I'll be disappointing you. I have kept up with my media log throughout the entirety of the month because, like I said, just like filling in the logs and trackers and things, that doesn't really take a lot of time. Journaling and just really thinking about what I need to write, what I want to write, and just like the actual act of writing it down, that takes a lot more time, especially since I write quite slowly. Let's see. This week, completely full. Unfortunately, I smudged quite a lot of this ink. But yeah, that's just my own fault. One thing I wrote down here is I get the newsletter from Magic of Eye, which is a brand. They make a, what's it called? Astrology planner. And they have a really nice newsletter if you're into astrology that will tell you about the new moons, the full moons, and just like the astrology seasons. It's something that, I mean, I don't study that religiously, but I like reading about it. I feel like it gives me some guidance in thinking about the month ahead, the season ahead. I like that. And I just copied some parts of the newsletter out that stood out to me. Then this month, I wanted to go for a bit of a more colorful spread, but on most days, I just didn't write a lot or anything at all. This blue ink, the Colorverse Rainy Day, really bled through the page, which makes it quite hard to read this first part of the lighter orange ink. but that's all right. Then this is the same week that I was talking about in my Hobonichi Weeks, the one that I didn't use my planners at all, except for keeping track of my media log and just filling in sleep and stuff. And I mean, it makes me a little bit sad that it's empty, but on the other hand, looking back at this, I will know that I did other stuff. I mean, it's okay if there are empty pages. It's not like I will read everything back. It's not like it's super important that I don't have a record of that week. This last week, I wanted to get back into journaling, did that for one day, then didn't journal for the entire rest of the day. And so far, I haven't journaled this week as well. So yeah, what am I going to do going forward with this planner? Well, not really anything else, I guess. I mean, it is here. I'm not going to forget about it. I write in it every day. And whenever I feel like writing more and I feel like really journaling, I can just do that and get back into it. And maybe that's tomorrow. Maybe that's next week. Maybe that's next month, which is also next week. But I meant the month after. I don't know, but I do know that I don't want to force myself to just keep on filling the pages. Obviously, this is something that I will take into consideration when thinking about next year's planner system. Maybe I'll realize that I do want to track a lot of things and I want to log a lot of things, but I don't really need the space for writing, and I can just use something undated or use some undated back pages for journaling whenever I need to, whenever I feel like it, and I don't need that much space. I already realized last year that I don't need an entire page a day, but maybe even half a page is too much, or maybe I want something undated so that on some days I can write a little bit more and then I can just skip a couple days. I don't know. The future is uncertain. It's a blank canvas and I'm fine with that. That's not 100% true because I love to plan and I don't like uncertainty. But I know that my planner system keeps changing, keeps evolving, and I'm just not disciplined enough to do the exact same thing for the entire year, I guess. I always look with a lot of envy to people who do and who have a neat little row of completely filled up planners. But I mean, that should not really be the end goal, I feel like. I mean, if that is your end goal, that's completely fine. I'm not judging you, but I don't think having that as an end goal would make me very happy. So I said this was going to be a short video. I've been talking for almost half an hour. I'm sorry, I can never keep my videos short, I feel like. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you've been having fun journaling, if you've been writing, or if maybe you've also encountered a bit of a journaling slump, or maybe if you've noticed that in the past, that for you it also changes. Some months you write more, some months you don't really feel like writing. I'd love to hear about that, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye!